Thank you, Alexei. Great introduction. I'm quite happy to see so many people here after yesterday's party. So hopefully that's not an indication that the party wasn't good. But thanks a lot for coming. Really happy to be here. I would like first to start a little bit kind of from personal introduction. So why should you listen to me? Who this guy is in front of you? So just a few words, keeping it short. My name is Jaroslav. I have started as a game designer 11 years ago, so pretty long time in the industry. I have been a game designer, a project manager, a producer. I have filled many different kinds of roles, up to head of studio. I have spent some time working with Rovio on some of their IPs as an executive producer, and I'm back now with Nordcurrent, where I have started 11 years ago. And I'm a producer and a member of the game review team at Nordcurrent Labs, so at the publishing division of Nordcurrent. Last year, my colleague has been talking a little bit about the importance of the Steam page and using an example of Gridventory, the game that hasn't been released at that moment yet, as a good example. So I'm happy to say that Gridventory is now out. It's on Steam. It's been successful and with positive reviews from users. So I will keep using this game as an example also for my talk a little bit. But what am I going to talk about is just how do you pitch the game with a killer demo, right? With a demo that grabs attention, that makes your game stand out for the publisher. And I hope that as a kind of member of the publishing team, I will give you a chance to have a glimpse at the publisher's mind, which is not often kind of obvious especially for young developers, for developers who haven't released many of the games yet and who are looking for their maybe first publishing deal or maybe kind of just starting to explore the market a little bit. So this is a competitive market. That's not news to any one of you, and kind of making your game stand out can be pretty difficult. So you will be working around several constraints, and I would like to focus on three biggest ones and kind of draw your attention to the biggest hurdles that you need to overcome to strike your maybe a deal of a lifetime, right? So the first constraint I will focus on is pacing. So every second wasted is an opportunity missed. So what do I mean when I talk about pacing is like let's start with a bit of a kind of fun detour. So a study has been done by Microsoft in the year 2000, measuring the average attention span of a human being that just plays games, uses computers, uses software, right? And it was about 12 seconds, so on average, right? So sometimes more, sometimes less. But in 12 seconds, you need to grab attention to make your product stand out. They did the same study in 2022, and they found out that the attention span was 8 seconds. So just a little bit less than that of a goldfish. So I'm not sure if that's true, but that's like, it's said that a goldfish has like 9 to 10 seconds attention span. So take that as you will, and I'm also not saying that publishers are like goldfish, but I want to say that publishers are people as well. And at this moment, usually people have this thought that, it's just like the younger generation. So it's all like TikTokers and Gen Zs and so on. So take it from Microsoft themselves. So it's not about kind of kids these days. It's all about the habits and the digital lifestyles of the people. So, and guess who has the most digital lifestyles of all? So probably those people who work with games, with the software on a daily basis, right? So how do you kind of hit that sweet spot with your demo? So there are two things. So one is get to the point. So when you are pitching your game to the publisher, when you are sending the pitch deck and the demo, and very often what we see and what many publishers probably see is that they have to go through hurdles to get the first experience, right? Maybe that's the technical performance. Maybe that's something else. Maybe that's just kind of the long intro or the text or something else that is there. So you're pretty much wasting those first 8 seconds. So get to the point, start with the strongest thing that you have in your demo. And the second one is concentrating the essence. So you want to make sure that your game is special, like your game is seen as special to the publisher. So try to concentrate that specialness as much as you can to make sure that your game, your piece of game looks as good as it can look. And the features that you want to showcase are at the top, at the forefront of what you're pitching, right? We have done a little bit of a survey internally. Like I've asked a lot of our colleagues who are working with game reviews, like what is the ideal length of a demo that they would prefer to see from the developers, right? So, and that is 15 to 30 minutes. So if that's longer, that's okay. It can be longer as well, but you should be able to convey the essence of your game in this short of a time. And there are 2 kind of approaches that you can take, because usually when you start looking for information or just start brainstorming like what you want to present in the demo, usually people go, oh, it should be a vertical slice. It should be a vertical slice of your game. It should kind of contain all the features that represent what your game is. That's all good, but there is a huge benefit to that, of course. So it provides a holistic perspective of your game. But that's where kind of benefits end and then the detracting points begin. So firstly, it relies on the final quality of your product. So if your layers of the cake aren't great, if they aren't sticking with each other, there is nothing that you will show to the publisher that will look exciting or worth of attention, right? It's extremely hard to achieve realistically for young teams that are just starting with the new products. And just to summarize, like it works really well, like having a vertical slice of the cake if you already have a cake. If you don't have a cake, then what do you do? So I would like to suggest a bit of a different approach here, and I call it cherry pick approach. So just take the best bits and serve them instead. So don't try to showcase the final product. Don't try to showcase everything that you have. Focus on what really, really matters. And that may not be representative of the final product. It may not be the slice of your actual gameplay, but you're not trying to do that. You're not trying to pitch the game. You're trying to pitch the game that you are aiming to make. So it focuses on what matters. It focuses on what makes your product unique. It's much more achievable. I hope that you can see, and I'm not blocking the view for anyone. And it's less time demanding on the publisher as well, because again, the pacing issue, like 15 minutes, how do you present your product, right? It's pretty tough. So for pitching in the early stages, before you have the final product, before you even have, maybe before you are even in production fully, this is something that works way, way better. The next constraint that you'll be working around is context. And this is kind of, you know your game, you know the product that you're trying to build. We don't. Like when we first see the game, we have no idea, like what is it that you are building, right? We can have a glimpse at it, but we don't have that preconception. So let's play a game a little bit. Imagine yourself a publisher. So you are now reviewing games, and someone comes to you, like a young developer, and says, okay, so we're making a Souls-like game, a game in the Souls-like genre. What does that mean to you? So just, can someone just raise your hand? And yes, we have an answer there. Maybe we can get a microphone. Okay. Press space to dodge. Okay, so probably some kind of like control scheme comes to mind, right? Or like combat mechanics. Okay, what else?
Some kind of resource that you lose on death and have to pick up.
Cool. So the resource that you lose on death and have to pick up, again, another good point. Yes?
Purposefully very hard.
Yes, it might be very hard, right? So, okay, good answers. And actually, all of the answers are representative of what the games in Souls-like genre can be, right? So I have also done this exercise with, like, internally with some people, and I have asked the same question that I asked you, and let's see what the answers were. So one was, the game will be difficult, so we just had that answer. Another one was, the game is a 3D action with checkpoints. So something similar was said here as well. The game features strong environmental storytelling. No one said that, but for some people, that's what Souls games are, right? Like reading the descriptions of the items and like, oh, you know, where did that item come from? So, and another one was the game that has a deep and impactful combat system. So all of these answers represent what Souls games can be, and yet they're all very, very different. So the same happens with the demo. Oh, by the way, and some people say, oh, you know, not another one. So. Some had that first thought, so kind of overcrowded market. The same thing happens when you are pitching with a demo. So the first time the demo is launched, you might have some kind of preconception or some kind of idea that you want to convey. Let's say you have played a pixel art game like in your childhood that left a huge impression, like Earthbound or something else. You want to have a game that looks like that. And yet the publisher who looks at your game may not have the same experience. They might not have the same background. So when they look at this pixel art, and they might feel that, it's like, it looks old. Like it's not, maybe not something that the modern player will appreciate. So how do you work around that? So there are kind of different ways, but you need to understand that this happens because of effect in psychology that is called projection bias. So we tend to assume that our own preferences are shared by the people around us. We often expect that others experience the things in a similar way that we do. And we sometimes just overestimate how obvious the reasoning behind our decisions is, because it's obvious to us. So like all the smart people in the industry should share this, right? This is not the case, so you need to find the ways like how to work around it. And you have a very powerful tool to do that, which is a pitch deck. So when you're pitching the game, usually it's kind of one-two punch system, right? So there is pitch deck and there is a demo. So use that pitch deck to bridge the gap. So firstly, you can prime the publisher's perspective from the very beginning. So outline what is it that you are trying to do, and just spell it out very, very clearly. Make sure that it's front and center at like as the main point of or several points of your pitch deck. Provide the reasoning behind your choices. So your pitch deck will also be used as a reference or a guide. So when we play the demo, if we don't understand something, usually we just go and look, what did you write? Like, why did you decide to do this? So sometimes that helps. And yeah, so use it as that guide. And finally, there is a third constraint that you will be working around, which is ambition. And results always speak louder than words. We all want to make our dream games, right? We all want to play something that, or craft something that's like the best thing ever. You know, like how many times have you seen on the market people making their ideal MMORPG, right? So that happens like every year, and few of them are successful, but there is an ambition there. So the pitch deck is pretty much a promise to the publisher. So when I was talking a bit about pitch decks, consider that whatever you put in there, it is seen as something that you promise you will deliver on. So it is important to have ambitious goals. It is important to show that, hey, you are not just making another like a clone of a product that exists, but you are making something that will stand out, that will maybe push the industry forward. But the ambition needs to be grounded in reality. So whenever you decide to build the best game ever or your dream product, keep in mind that whatever you put in the deck will be probably kind of seen again as something to watch out for, like when playing a demo. So whenever the situation like this happens, that's not a good situation to be in, because sometimes, and that happens all the time. So sometimes people say that, hey, we're building this amazing open world product that is like Breath of the Wild, and it has like the 200 hours of content, and then there is like, the budget is 50K, and there are like 2 people making it. So, and then the demo shows maybe like a lot of empty space and nothing else. So is that what you are trying to tell the publisher? So is that the dissonance that you want to have? Because then you create a situation which is very, very difficult to trust you, or to trust that your team can deliver. So try to avoid that as much as possible, and try to prove with the demo whatever you put into the pitch deck. Another point that I wanted to emphasize specifically, define very clearly where you are and how far are you from where you want to be. So what is it that the game is still missing? So you're providing a demo to play. It is very it is clear what's in the demo, but it's not very clear what's still planned, but it's not there. So is the combat system that you have put in there final? Is that how the game is gonna work, right? Is the world the size that it's gonna be? Is the storytelling ways are the same that you will use later on? So please try to keep this in mind, and it's better to just spell out whatever you don't know. So know your unknowns. So kind of just to finalize before I go into a practical example, there are 3 points that I wanted to kind of summarize with. So be honest with yourself and the publisher. Analyze the reliability, the reality of the market. So be aware what's out there. So if you are pitching another best ever MMORPG with customization of everything and armors, and the world is changing to your like according to your actions. It has been done 100 times. It has never worked. Probably it's going to be seen as you are trying to again just do the same mistakes as people have done before you. So deliver on things that actually matter. And let's move to the practical example. So I promised a little bit about Gridventory, and I see people pumping hands. So our friends at Black Tower Basement have been very kind and provided and allowed us to use the examples from the pitch deck that I used here. So let's go into it a little bit. So here is a page from the developers, right? So it states immediately that there will be unusual combat system with parry at its center. There will be spellcraft system with spells that enhance the combat. There is like really nice pixel art and detailed animated enemies on all that stuff. So kind of the visuals will be very, very special. There will be blood, which, well, that's a selling feature. Then story with heroes and smart villains, and then the kind of the spells that are provided by the equipment that you have, right? So let's see what happens in the very first seconds of the demo that they have provided, right? So immediately there is an amazing quality cutscene that already sells kind of 2 points, so unique style and the story that was promised. It was voiced, it was almost final quality. It felt amazing, so it immediately kind of sold the 2 points, or proven the 2 points that were sold in the pitch deck. In the first minutes of the game, you are in the combat. You are testing the combat mechanics. You are parrying the hits from the enemies. You will see the blood and all that stuff that was promised. This is not the exact combat that you get into in the beginning of the game, but this one is just a little bit more meaty, so I used this one. So again, combat mechanics and spells. Another point's covered already in the first minutes. Let's look at another page of the pitch deck, right? So these were the challenges. So when I said that please outline kind of where you want to be and what's still missing from your product, right? So this is it. So these are the challenges that the guys at Black Tower Basement have faced. And one of them that I want to underline is the gamepad integration. So the game is very PC-centric, very like mouse-driven. And naturally, kind of the challenge arises with the control scheme because lots of players play with gamepads, right? So what did they do? So they immediately explored the solutions to that problem. So they have provided the videos, they have provided the options of how it is possible to solve this issue. It's not final solution. It's not kind of the thing that will immediately make the game playable with the gamepads, but it's something that works already. So again, this builds a lot of trust immediately in the developers and makes our work so much easier because we can then also brainstorm, we can work together, we can solve all of these issues together, and we build that trust, we build the understanding of where we are, where we want to be, and that's always extremely, extremely fun and amazing, and it's a pleasure to work with people like that. So 5 key takeaways and final recommendations from this talk. One is harmonize the demo with your pitch deck. Keep the size of the demo manageable. So remember, 15 to 30 minutes. It can be shorter, but that was quoted as an ideal case. Focus on the key aspects of your vision. So cherry pick, provide what you really want to sell. Make sure that your demo supports your promises. Understand your known unknowns. And hopefully that will lead you to great success and a good publishing deals. So thanks a lot. Thank you for listening. I hope I'm totally on time. So please hit us up at those links if you are interested, if you are looking for publishing deals, if you want to ask questions or reach out to either our entire publishing team or me specifically, please feel free to do so. And you can also find me after this talk. I will be around and at the Nordcurrent booth as well. So let's have a chat and let's hope that we will meet again and maybe work together on some really, really cool games. So thanks a lot.
Applause to Jaroslav. Thank you. Thank you, Jaroslav. It was very interesting. We have time for discussion, so maybe you have some question to Jaroslav. No? Yes, we have a question. Perfect.
So, to the contrary of what you said about the game, to the contrary of what you said about the game being very mouse-centric, I would parry it and say that it's very keyboard-centric. So, I played it on Steam Deck. I powered through 3 hours of gameplay. I played it before in a demo on PC. It was way more pleasant, but the mapping of all the keys and even remembering layouts, it makes sense on keyboard. It doesn't make any sense on Steam Deck. So even though that developers showed you that you can in fact parry some basic things, it is not really the solution because there's not enough buttons.
Yes, and that was one of the challenges that we faced and that the developers faced. So I kind of agree with you that the keyboard is another big part of it. So hopefully, I can't speak about whether it was completely solved or not, but this is a very valid point, and I think that
I'm still working on a community layout for it, so maybe I'll release it on Steam Deck at some point. Another question is rather more about the challenges slide on the deck. So what I found really useful is to see what's in the demo, as in a feature list or a length right before the demo is arrived. And the question to you is, how granular you want to see what's not in the demo? Is it a 10-page document with every sprint, or is it more of a general thing and what should be going?
So great question. With the negatives, you want to go in the same way as you go with the positives. So focus on what actually matters. So if you are planning an amazing combat system, and and that's kind of the central portion of the game, right? The game revolves around it. Then it's really important to mention if you haven't done that yet, right? Because when we play the demo, we will see the combat system that is there. We have no idea how far you are, like from where you want to be. But if it's just a trivial, like small things, just put one sentence and say like, yeah, there is also like polish and like there is polish with the controls and like maybe some graphical work and all that stuff. So don't be extremely granular. Like don't create a 40-page document. Just use one page in your pitch deck to outline the biggest kind of unknowns to you still and the biggest kind of areas that are still lacking. So be brief and concentrate the essence as well.
Thank you for good questions. One more from audience. Yeah, we have raised hand.
Just following up on your answer right now to these challenges, what would you say to a developer who is afraid of putting on their biggest challenges because they might think, oh, the publisher will think I'm incompetent, or like, this is too...
This is a really good question, and from me personally, I can't speak to all the publishers, of course, or like for all the publishers, but I can speak for myself and for many of my colleagues that I have worked with, and I have never seen a person who would look at honest answers about, hey, we still haven't done this, but we have an idea how to do it, and we understand that we're not there yet, and thought, oh, they're incompetent. That's actually, that's one of the signs of competence, because that shows that people actually are in full understanding what they're still missing in the game, right? So to me, that's always the opposite. And to all the developers that feel that they shouldn't present the negatives, like, you shouldn't be afraid of that. There is no, like, we realize, all of us who have been in the industry for a long time, we always realize that there are always challenges. There are always things that you can't get into the game, and maybe you will not be able to get them into the final product at all. And no one thinks that there is an ideal product suddenly appearing on the market and being pitched, and that's how it's going to be. So be honest, that creates confidence, that does not detract from it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have one more question.
Yeah, thanks. Let's say I'm an indie developer and I have a really nice idea for the game, but I can't do everything on my own. Let's say sound or some visuals. How does that affect if you get a demo that has, I don't know, has no sound or has very limited sound or has missing visuals? Because you said like just to cherry pick the best thing, but it's clear that you get the best impression when you see the whole picture. And yeah, what usually is the best way how to approach that? Yeah,
and I think that this situation is very common, and this is part of what makes publishing appealing to some people, right? Because publisher can also help you in many ways, and finding maybe some kind of contracts and finding some kind of people who could assist you in getting there, right? Because this is not like, publisher is just taking the game that exists and rolls with that and does only the marketing. So we work very, very closely with the developers. We are partnering with the developers on many things. We assist in many different areas. And if for example, you don't have the sound, but you understand that you don't have it, just put it out there that, hey, like, we are planning to have this amazing soundtrack for the game. We don't have the expertise or people to do it, so we are looking for help for that as well. So that might help. And of course, if that's all that your game is, if that's all that, your game is a rhythm game and you don't have music in it, then of course it's questionable. But usually that's not the case. That doesn't happen. So it's usually just some portion that the game can exist in the pitch phase without, and then that can be worked out later on as well. So reach out to publishers still, and maybe you will solve those issues in a much easier way and much more efficient way.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, Jaroslav. Time is over. You can continue your conversation out the door. And thank you, Jaroslav, again. It was very interesting, very useful. Good start for our day. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.